Yeah, got it. Okay, we're on. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first Black Salt membership program. And today's session is all about the sales agent's business plan. Now, first of all, I want to say a big thank you to everyone that participated in the Black Salt 24 conference. Team, the feedback we've had for the whole period since then, it's been obviously just over 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, has been phenomenal. Everyone we're bumping into has obviously made mention of it, and lots of feedback from those attendees that actually implemented. And if you remember what the whole theme of the Black Salt is to have agents in the field, training agents in the field, but more importantly, implementing those things that we obviously taught, and of course, people getting results from it. So once again, thank you so much. The feedback from the speakers was incredible, and thank you to everyone that participated and all the behind the scenes. And of course, we couldn't have made it possible without the support of all our industry partners. And a big shout out, of course, to all of them displayed on the screen. Everyone really contributed, not only from a financial point of view, but obviously a support, moral support, and actually getting behind everything that we are trying to achieve with the Black Salt movement. So a big shout out to those. Now, today's webinar is going to be a webinar, but we have the opportunity for people to ask questions. We can have the opportunity to unmute people to ask questions as well, and I might be able to get people as well to contribute throughout the 2 hours. We are going to go through a lot of things over the 2 hours, and I need to make sure that everyone's getting as much value as they possibly can out of the 2-hour session. We're condensing 20 years of knowledge into 2 hours, and I'm really hoping that you get the value out of it. And of course, our membership program, the first one, the virtual session, starts today, and being the Sales Agent Business Plan, and everyone should have the program for the balance of the year. And of course, those people who attended the Leadership Day, Day 2, will also have the additional 3 webinars for the leadership. From the program today, we'll be working from 2 workbooks. The first one that you would have received from the day, Strategy and Action. So I'm hoping everyone has got that available to them. They've got that handy. We'll be working through this workbook. If not, of course, just take lots of notes. And as I said, this recording and the slides will be made available on the membership hub, obviously on conclusion of today's proceedings. Now, of course, there's another workbook that I'd love for everyone to consider downloading. It's available again on the hub, and that is the Alpha and Omega book. That's really important because that's what we're going to be really focused on today as well. If you've had any challenges logging on, of course, the Black Salt membership hub is membership.blacksalt.au. Go there and you'll be able to log in with your email. And of course, I'm assuming many of you have come to the webinar through using that portal. All right. So I don't have any questions as yet. I'll just see if I make sure that we can see ourselves there. No, all good. So we're all good to go. George, the team's with me here at the moment, so a big shout out to them as well. Okay, so let's get started. And of course, there'll be some technical. Okay, the Sales Agent Business Plan. What is that all about? What is the Sales Agent Business Plan and the sales framework? So one thing I've learned about real estate, and if you recall my session on day 1, I talked about how we came into real estate and it was just a big challenge to work out what to be doing, when to be doing it, and more importantly, measuring the return on investment. We walked into chaos. It wasn't even organized chaos, as I've referred to it more recently, because I think in real estate, chaos is just part and parcel of the process. But having said that, once you actually really nail the sales agent business plan and your sales framework, it is your blueprint to accelerate your career to 2x, 3x, 4x your business. It's so important that you're able to put these processes in place so that you don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. We'll be talking about some numbers. We'll be talking about some items in your business that you won't need to keep reinventing. You'll just need to be reviewing, and then you will be obviously just ensuring that you're just following the process. And that's what the sales agent business plan and sales framework is all about. And I'm always excited to present it. And of course, I use these three messages. We need to be bulletproofing, we need to be accelerating, and we need to be dominating. We need to bulletproof our processes. We need to accelerate. Speed is the new currency, and we need to dominate. Dominate in the listing, in the lounge room. We need to dominate our marketplace. We need to dominate our database. There's so many aspects of it. Okay, moving forward. So the program really started this morning. I'm hoping everyone received your weekly Thursday email. So if you've received your email, put a thumbs up in the questions box. I'd love to sort of see that you've received it, and put a double thumbs up if you actually read it as well, because your weekly email that you'll receive every Thursday will have 3 action points, and one of them will be one thing to bulletproof, one thing to accelerate, and one thing to dominate. So today's message is one thing to bulletproof: consistency in client interactions. And it was a theme that was absolutely evident in obviously the Black Salt 2-day conference, consistency. And it was actually evident as well, that was that one word for those of us that were fortunate enough to get to the ARIC conference as well. Consistency played a big role in people's business. So consistency in client interactions. Simply solidify your client engagement process. Consistency isn't just about regular contact. It's about meaningful interactions that build trust value over time. Now, it's great to put that in a word and in a statement, but what does it actually mean? And again, that's where we follow through with the action. So you need to be, for example, in this instance, send a handwritten just a note to say or thank you card after every meaningful interaction. And this is the big one for me. And I encourage everyone to think about the last time that you received just a note to say thank you card. I bet you it doesn't happen all that often. So I want you to think that if you have a consistent process, that after every meaningful or significant conversation or interaction that you have, you send just a note to say thank you card. It just amplifies that initial interaction. And of course, your return on investment of staying top of mind is amplified enormously, absolutely enormously. It is a game changer. One thing to accelerate: speed is the new currency, right? So we know that studies have revealed that those agents that are quick to respond in all their processes, whether it's for a lead that comes in for a listing presentation, whether it's a buyer inquiry, whether it's getting back to your vendors on time, giving great constructive and informative feedback, they're the agents who win. So speed is absolutely needs to be part of your standards. And if you're building a team and you're working with a team, it is absolutely critical. Okay. And of course, the third one thing to dominate: a 10 out of 10 listing presentation. I think one of the most highly rated presentations on Black Salt, and really up, all of them were up there, was Joel Hood's 10 out of 10 listing presentation process. From the very first phone call to to the delivery of a pre-list kit information, whether it's digital or analog, to being in the lounge room, to then closing the deal and or the follow-up should you not close the deal at the time of the appointment. It's critical. So what is the action to do that? We need to put an action, and what I suggest with everyone is grab your fellow colleagues and organize half a day, a full day, pull your whole listing process apart, have all your documentation, have all your collateral with you, have everything that you use, and then rebuild it, then role play it. And then of course you need to refine it. And then you just keep practicing and practicing. Don't leave your listing presentation to chance. We do all this work, and we'll be talking about the opportunity ratio shortly. And you'll understand that we make so much effort, we put so much effort to get to the lead, but then we sometimes fail, let ourselves down at the listing presentation. So I'm hoping that you'll find value out of your weekly email. And of course, one thing to bulletproof, one thing to accelerate, and one thing to dominate. And additionally, we'll have our future sessions, the upcoming sessions. Okay, moving forward. So today's session insights, we'll be talking about, and we're going into depth, whether we need to find out your start line. Are you in apprentice mode? Are you in tradesperson mode? Or are you in a practice mode, which is the ultimate in real estate? And we're talking about effective business units and how you can really amplify your results. But more importantly, have a business that is sustainable, that is exciting to work in, and it's the most profitable in the real estate space. We talk about the opportunity ratio, because if you don't get in the door in the first place, you have no opportunity to list or sell properties. The alpha and omega appraisal to list ratio. If you only get one thing out of today's session, and that's the appraisal to list ratio and your number, it's going to be phenomenal. And we'll share with you the tools that have worked for so many agents that have actually 2x, 3x, and 4x their business. It's a real game changer. Of course, the business plan, we're going to keep it simple. I'm not going to get out an Excel spreadsheet. I've done all the hard work in the background. And again, I'll offer anyone to reach out if they're having challenges with finding out their actual numbers to achieve their targets, to actually reach out. And I can go through it with them. It'll only take 5 to 10 minutes. And of course, the momentum point. And that momentum point is always talked about in every conversation in real estate. And I'll highlight a few things about the momentum point, becoming that attraction agent, so that that daily grind of finding new business softens, as for lack of a better explanation. It becomes more enjoyable. Okay, who's excited? I hope everyone is. Now, I'll start with this phrase. When I presented my presentation at Black Salt, I said my title of the session was Bridging the Gap Between Knowing and Doing. Because at the end of the day, when we know what to do, but we're not achieving our results, the gap is actually in the doing. We need to take action. I know it's such a cliche. Nothing happens without taking action. However, many of us procrastinate, and whether it's in work or whether it's in personal life, many times we're procrastinating. So I often start my presentations with this reminder. And we're halfway through the year. But my goal in 2024 is to complete my goals for 2023, which I should have completed in 2022, because I promised myself I would achieve them in 2021, which I had written down to do in 2020. If that sounds familiar, I mean, I can't see you, but a big show of hands, or put a yes, or drop a thumbs up in the question box. And I always look at that, because we always come to the end of any calendar year and the New Year's resolutions come out. And when we look at the New Year's resolutions, all we're really finding out is we're just repeating those ones from the year before and the year before, and which many of those are not completed. So how do we bridge the gap between knowing and then actually doing, wanting and actually doing, and remembering that as of today, 157 days of the year have passed. We've got 209 days left, which means 23 weeks, and more importantly, that number there, 29, means there's 29 Saturdays left, 29 weekends left in the year. And if you take out a couple for the end of year and so forth, it's less. And remembering that Saturday is what we call match day, it's showtime, and Saturday is the day that we've got to be on show. And I do believe that most agents' productivity on a Saturday represents 50 to 60% of their results, if not more, because it is match day. It's open house day. And I want you to think about the importance of Saturday in your business career. I want you to think about any seller, any potential seller who is thinking of selling. What are they really conscious of in the marketplace on a Saturday? And that is for sale boards, pointer boards, flags that open for inspections, the reticular activating system, which we know is, if you're thinking about purchasing a red Mazda, we know as soon as you start thinking about purchasing a red Mazda, you start seeing red Mazdas out in the as you're driving. It's the same when a vendor starts thinking about putting their property on the market or has any inclination of going to market. They are influenced by every single for sale board. And, let's be truthful, as real estate agents on a Saturday, we can pick out a real estate agent a mile away from the car they drive, the way they dress, the whole lot. So it's the same for us. That applies to potential sellers. So when we look at that number, 29, it represents more than just the remaining weeks that we have in the year. And the weekends, it represents a significant number of opportunities and really amplifying your Saturday. Okay, so moving forward. Okay, so just to recap on setting the stage, because in any business plan, we need to make sure that we are setting the stage and that we're really well prepared. And of course, the first thing is to start with why. And I'm really excited. Obviously, next week we attend our Live It Up conference for our agency members, and obviously it's external as well, have a number of guest speakers. And it's finding out your why, what really inspires you. And I truly believe that everything falls in place when you truly know what you want. And this is a really golden opportunity. We're coming to the middle of the year to really review how you've progressed through the year, and it's a new financial year. And I was doing some business planning with one of our directors yesterday, and she asked me, she's a new member, and she said, Manos, should I be, when we're talking, I'll go to the next one, is what is the financial goal? And she said, what should my financial plan be over a calendar year or a financial year? And I said, look, I would always go for financial year, because at the end of the day, that's where we're our tax and our accountants and in the legal world, our results are measured. At the end of the day, our group certificate at the end of each financial year is a measure of our success when it comes to profitability and the results were generated from our business. So I encourage everyone to really set a plan, to look at their last 12 months. It's a perfect timing to be doing the sales agent business plan, especially when it comes to the numbers, because we can reverse engineer, and we will be reverse engineering the last 12 months to make sure that we've got a great foundation to work with for the next 12 months. Okay, and now, and the third one, of course, something that's often not talked about is, what price are you willing to pay? We know that anything worthwhile that we need to be doing, there's a price to pay. And sometimes it's hard to swallow the pill and the price. And sometimes that price gets the better of us and the seeds of doubt come in. And I see that a lot in many agents, especially when the tough times come into real estate, and the punches in the gut and the rejection, and things aren't going your way. And sales falling over. right? But that's the resilience you need to overcome in this business. Once you overcome, and I'll be able to share over the next 12 months, for those people who feel that way, I'm really hoping the next 12 months in this membership program, I can help you overcome that challenge, because it was a challenge that I had when I first entered real estate, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty. I didn't have the resilience that many others come into the real estate. They get into it really easily, and they're not worried about rejection, and they're not worried about where the next sale is coming and so forth. But it took me a long time to learn that, and to have the mindset and the skill and the stamina and the resilience to keep pushing through when we had to pay a price, and most of the times that emotional price. Okay, so moving forward, session insight. The first thing we'll be talking about is, of course, apprentice, tradesperson, or practice. And I did touch on this at our session at Black Salt, but I want to go a little bit more of a deep dive. Just as a recap, what is it? What we've found in the last 22 years of doing and coaching and mentoring and actually being real estate agents ourselves is there's 3 stages to growth in real estate. When you first start, you're like the apprentice. Well, yeah, and it's apprentice. We all go into an apprenticeship, and people start in real estate in different levels with different engagements. Sometimes people come in and they come in as sales PAs and they learn the ropes, and then they go out on their own. Some people come straight in as sales agents and are thrown in the deep end, and they progress. And I always say that everyone starts as an apprentice, right? Just like you would if you're working for a trade or learning a trade. Okay. Now, the apprentice stage, most agents sit there for the 1 to 2 years. Some people don't. I'm going to go into more depth in the following slides. The whole point is to pass the apprentice stage and move into what we call becoming a brand for yourself. And it's so critical to pass the point of apprentice to move into tradesperson and or real estate practice. And the reason it's because it becomes easier and momentum builds, and you pass that point where more people know of you being a real estate agent than you know people. And people talk about you in rooms that you're not present in. And that's really, really important. So when the community starts talking to you and they identify you as a real estate agent, I can, without inverted commas, say it's a point where you've arrived, you've made your mark. And I want everyone to really, if you're going to take this business seriously, to understand where you are at the moment. So this exercise is about finding out where you're at the moment and what challenges you have, and or what things do you need to do to get you from here to over there, from apprentice to tradesperson to real estate practice. Okay. All right. So apprentice, what is it? Normally a team of 1. Most people enter as a solo real estate agent as a team of 1. The GCI most sales agents bill to is about 250,000 in GCI. Depends obviously on your average sales commission, but most agents are sitting between 12 and 18 sales per year. If you're doing less than 12 sales per year, I'll tell you right now, it's really difficult, because you're not getting any momentum and you're not letting your results get you the next listing. Staying in this, and this is why it feels so much like Groundhog Year for most people that just can't break and get into those 1.5 to 2 sales per month. It is absolutely, it's a critical number. Now, where the KPIs are for this is coachability and belief, right? Because it's all about that belief, and I'll share something with you shortly. Challenges, getting systemized, because real estate is so chaotic at times. And how do we go from chaos to organized chaos? And I mean it literally. I don't think too many people can eliminate the chaos in real estate. I haven't seen many people do it. It is organized chaos. So once you accept that there's some chaos in real estate, but you can organize it to a certain extent, then your business can go to the next level. Okay. So the time frame, as I mentioned, 1 to 2 years. But here's the interesting thing: most people are in this category in real estate. So if there's about 30,000 real estate agents in Australia today practicing, 85% of them are in what we call the apprentice stage. And some of them have been in there for many, 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 many years. Some people don't want to move from there, and that's okay. That really is okay. I just find it's a little bit of a challenge if you're stuck there to get new business all the time, and that requirement to do the grind and the grind and the grind. And that's what we're trying to avoid. Okay. Is this the right career for me? This is one of the big, so in coaching and mentoring a whole bunch of agents out there and seeing so many, this is a big question. So when someone's in the apprentice stage, this is a big question they ask themselves almost every second week. Is this the right career for me? And it's that old analogy. Sometimes you got to go all in. Well, not sometimes. In this business, you must go all in, and of course, burn the bridges, right? You've got to burn the bridge so there's no turning back. And the beauty about us, as I shared a short story of us, when we came into real estate, we were all in. We're all in because we hopped ourselves to the hilt and we mortgaged the house. We had to make it work. We could not afford to let it fail because we had the house on the line. So that's a big motivator. It's a huge motivator to make sure that you do the things to make sure you don't fail, because the house was on the line. So I openly say to our team and to new people that should I have come in maybe more of a traditional way, where I came in as an employee and worked in an agency and so forth, I'd likely have lasted only 6 months, especially after my first rejection and losing my first listing and being told by Maria, you need to go home for 3 days, because I just couldn't get over it. So it is important. So if you're in this stage and you're asking this question all the time, is this the right career for me? You need to shift mindset. The next thing, perpetual learning challenge. There's lots of agents in the field who do not train. And I guarantee you, when I speak to the top 5% of agents, one of their big things is perpetual learning, always training, always meeting the people they surround themselves. So perpetual learning is a must, right? And then again, everyone is just, there's lots of this talk. Everyone is just lucky and will work in a better area with less competition. And I hear that all the time. Oh yeah, they just got lucky. They're in a better area. Their commissions are higher, etc., etc. All the excuses you could actually think of. That's what comes across when people are stuck. And this is, to me, self-accountability. If you can't be self-accountable, and I wrote a blog, I should share it with the, remind me to do this, George. I wrote a blog just this Tuesday to our team, No One Owes You Anything. And it was a great 3-minute video. We'll share it in the hub after this session. It was a great 3-minute video of no one owes you anything. They really don't. It's all up to you. And self-accountability and self-determination is so important. So moving on. Okay, we move over to the tradesperson and to the real estate practice. And I've kept this combined because there's similar characteristics. This is what it's all about. So when you're in as a tradesperson, you've doubled yourself. You've put on an assistant, and whether that assistant is physically in your office, whether that assistant's a virtual assistant, i.e. using Wingman remote assistants for you, which are fantastic to do a lot of the stuff. And real estate's become a little bit more detailed and complex and more demanding in regards to things that can happen in the background. And having a remote assistant, an affordable remote assistant, can take away so much of the heavy lifting for individual agents that want to move on from tradesperson to real estate practice. So we're promoting within our organisation that every effective business unit, and especially the directors EBU, moved to have a remote assistant as part of the team. It's such an affordable aspect of building your A team. And I think it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when everyone will have to do it. Okay. So tradesperson, 2 people, real estate practice, 3 people. The figures are there, 250 to 500 GCI. So that's a solid business. Someone writing 250 to 500 GCI, you're in the top 2-3% of wage earners in Australia. That's the reality. If you're in the 500 plus, you're in the 1% and 0.5%, and some of the most, the 0.1% income earners. Number of sales, 19 to 36. So there's really good momentum point. So here at this point, 19 to 36 sales is really good momentum point. 37 sales is phenomenal. And the big thing here, and I encourage everyone to do, if you haven't already done so, our good friends realestate.com have us all, obviously all our profiles, all our agent profiles listed to the community, to the wider real estate community of sellers and buyers, and they rank us. And if you see the top 3 in every marketplace, it's a really important fact to understand. The top 3 in most marketplaces are doing 50, 60, 70% of the whole volume of the marketplace. And that's a really important statistic to understand. And I can almost guarantee you 9 times, if not, 19 times out of 20, those in the top 3 have got a solid real estate practice. They've built the A team. And in one of our membership Zooms, we'll be talking about building your A team and how do you bring that team together? How do you remunerate them well? And how, obviously, does it work? And what are the best doing out there in the field? And of course, KPIs. As a tradesperson, it's really important to know. I notice tradespeople understand their appraisal to list ratio, their success ratio, their opportunity ratio. That's what they become fundamental. It's like driving a car, and they get really proficient at driving a car, it becomes automatic. And then, of course, when they move over to the real estate practice, this is where it gets really interesting. They're not really focused on the ratios. They're really focused on dollars on the board. Because as I've always said in my training, volume is vanity and profit is sanity. And it's really important that dollars on the board is a measure of how successful that effective business unit is doing, because it's a serious business then. And of course, challenges as a tradesperson, job roles and working effectively, because suddenly you're going from 1 to 2. Who does what? How do we get more efficient? And this is the thing. There's no one. I've often been asked, have you got job lists for everyone? I said, I have. And I used to have all these job lists. I still have them. But I guarantee you, everyone's job list and everyone's EBU is slightly different to the next agent. As I said, we all have access to the same ingredients. How we put those ingredients together that makes the difference. Marketplaces are different. When you're building an EBU in a marketplace with an average fee of $35,000, $40,000, it's totally different to building an EBU with a marketplace of $12,000 to $13,000 in average sales commission, and you're doing lots of volume. When you're down to those numbers, mate, you can't afford to have an EBU of 5 because there's not enough money to go around to support everyone within that EBU. And we start talking about the law of diminishing returns. Again, I'll go into more depth when we do building the A team. Of course, as a real estate practice, managing people and profitability, there's always that challenge. And I was just speaking to a director yesterday, and he put his hands up and he goes, you know what, managing people and having employees and managing these roles is probably not for me. Do you know what I mean? So he's looking at other ways of how does he build his effective business unit, but minimizing the number of team members. And of course, time frame 2 to 4 years, 4 years plus. There is a phenomenon in our team that a lot of agents, especially because they have access to this sort of training, especially because of technology, is able to amplify people's footprint and digital footprint and presence in the marketplace. we have access to the biggest media companies now in the world for peanuts, absolute peanuts. So you think about it, before the advent of social media, before the advent of cheap marketing material and so forth, it was really difficult to put a commercial on TV and get a return on investment. So really think about that and how important and the opportunity there is for people who come into this business to actually go straight into tradesperson real estate practice because of the tools and the information that's available to them. Okay, so what happens here? What distinguishes these tradespeople and real estate practice people to the apprentice people, to the majority? Because we can see there's 10% that are tradespeople and 5% that are 10% of the wider real estate community. Agents, sales agents are in the tradesperson, about 10%, 1 in 10, and 5% are in the real estate practice, if not slightly less. So these are the three or four things. Personal aspirations and stamina. They play the long game. They're all in. They're in real estate for life. I openly say, I'm in real estate for life. I absolutely love this business. When I came into this business, absolutely came into it kicking and screaming. I did not want to be a real estate agent. Okay. I didn't like the activities that a real estate agent had to do. Standing at an open for inspection, knocking on doors, presenting in the lounge room. I was totally uncomfortable. So what happens here is personal aspiration, stamina, play the long game. Once you get good at this craft, you start to love it. And that's what happened with us. So we moved from disliking what the activities were to absolutely loving it. And because we got good at it. And I'll repeat that. And I'm not saying it through arrogance, but we just knew what to do. And again, so it was easy for us to think about playing the long game. I'm in it for the long game. So I can only imagine, we've only been in it for 21, 22 years. I'm just turned into my 60th revolution around the sun. So most people had a 20-year head start on us. Okay, but I can imagine where we'll be in 20 years' time. And all the things that we're sharing with you on this webinar and all the things that we're going to share over the next 12, everything that we've learned over the 20 years, and of course what we're learning right now, what's relevant right now. So super excited. I get obviously super excited. Okay, so these people totally committed to the process. Consistency and patience, and there's that word again, consistency and of course patience. But they're committed to the process. They understand that when I talk about sending out a just a note to say card after every meaningful transaction, those people that implement, it'll be less than 10%, I'll tell you right now, and it's never changed, less than 10% of the real estate community do this. It will change your game. 5 just a note cards will take your business to the next level. 20 just a note say cards per week will put you in the elite level. But you've got to be consistent and patient. That's what these people do. Then, of course, sphere of influence and ego, which often doesn't really get talked about, but it needs to be. Ego, used the right way, is really valuable. It's really valuable. First of all, your sphere of influence. Who you hang around with will have a direct impact to your success. And you need to be hanging around people who are positive, people who keep pushing forward, people who take the blows well, know how to handle them, people who train, and also the ego part of it. Many of these people in the real estate practice, they do it for the trophy. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And I know we always talk about, the dollars on the board and so forth, but that really spurs people on, The reality is records are broken when you're competing in the pool with other competitors. And that's why records are always broken. And I see that as a positive, not as a negative. I'm not talking about arrogance and know-it-alls and so forth. but we're talking about having a bit of ego, having that drive to be number one, and of course, wanting to surround yourself with the others that are doing exactly what you want to do. So again, sphere of influence. And I'll share a personal story, which I shared with one of my business planning sessions with someone who was relatively new. And they said to me, what was one of the best things that you implemented in your real estate career when you first started? And I had to think back because we did a lot and we had to have an accelerated learning. And it was one thing that we did. There was about 4 agents in this particular organization that we hanged around with all the time. And all these 4 families, 4 agents and girls, we all had young kids at the time. I remember Costa and George, our 2 sons, they were 8 and 5 respectively when we entered real estate. And it was interesting what we did with these 4 other agents who were very successful in what they were doing. We used to have what we call pizza night every Friday. And we did it every Friday. It was probably too often, too much takeaway. But anyway, it was one of the best things we ever did, because what we did, we went to each other's house, obviously alternately, 1 week at our house, 1 week at Arthur's house, 1 week at Sam's house, 1 week at George's house, 1 week at Jim and Anastasia's house. And we alternated putting up dinner and, of course, bringing the kids together, and our kids were of similar age. And what did we do? We all talked real estate. We're all involved in real estate, and that we learned so much from each other. We role played our challenges. We role played our successes. We shared our successes, our wins, and it was the best learning experience. And we did this for about 6 to 12 months, and then of course it gradually, died out as kids got into sports and so forth. But if I can encourage anyone, especially if you're new, put that habit, put that into your diary, and it will be part of your learning experience, and you have a lot of fun along the way. So I hope that's of value to especially the newbies. All right, so moving forward, we're coming along really well for time. Okay, so in these 3 phases, we've got the apprentice, we've got the tradesperson, and we've got the real estate practice. And everything revolves around dollar productive hours. So if I look at this chart here, and it's just absolutely phenomenal when you actually do this exercise. And I encourage everyone to do this exercise. So dollar productive hours as real estate agents, I want you to think about it. We shouldn't be doing low dollar productive activities just to fill in time and make an excuse that I've come to the office and I've left the office, but I haven't really achieved anything. So the one KPI that you should have to see if it's been a productive day or if it's been a not so productive day, and you're probably better off taking the day off, excuse me, is this. You need to say to yourself at the end of each day, how many people did I connect with? How many people did I reconnect with that know me? How many people did I connect with that didn't know me, and now they know who I am? And whether it's through your face-to-face meetings, whether it's through your telephone calls, whether it's through your marketing prospects, how many people did I touch? And it's a real critical one. And I spoke to someone just recently, and I said to them, how many people did you connect? How many calls did you make yesterday? And this individual person said, I didn't make any calls at the moment. So that was really, really challenging in the sense of when I heard that, I was going, okay, well, it was actually, didn't make any calls for the whole week. And I went, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's Thursday, and we haven't made any calls yet. That means there's 3 days of the week that nothing happened. Nothing happened. And you can't get those 3 days back. You just can't. They're gone. So you need to understand that at the end of each day, we need to know how many connections did we make, and start today. Like it's 12:15 at the moment, right? 12:15. surely some people have made some connections, right? And if you have, put it in the question box and say, I've actually spoken to 3-4 people today, 10 people. Let's see who's there's over 50 people on. There's close to 70 people on the webinar today. Let's see how many people have actually spoken to people today, and let's see who's actually won. So put it in the chat box or in the questions and answers. Say, yeah, I've spoken to 10, I've spoken to 20, I've spoken to 30, I've spoken to none, right? I mean, that's great. The first one's come up is 12 people. That's really, really, really productive. When we ever talk to, if you want a KPI, a number for $1 million agent, it's 30 connections a day, 30 people a day. And that's a lot. And those people that have actually done it know it takes a lot of time. So we need to be doing dollar productive hours as opposed to just doing stuff. Right. And so our dollar productive hours, of course, are appraisals, call sessions, door knocks, open for inspections, vendor meetings, and buyer appointments. And I want you to reverse engineer. It's great. I've seen a whole bunch of people put a whole bunch of calls out there. That's fantastic. So, and someone's even done an appraisal and also gotten a new property management. So that is fantastic. So really, really well done, team. So dollar productive hours. So I want you to reverse engineer your last week and maybe the last 2 to 3 weeks and actually measure how many dollar productive hours that you're actually doing, because these numbers, we've done this exercise on so many occasions where if someone's doing about $10 productive hours on average per week, they're actually writing up to 500,000. So I want you to think about that. If that's what someone is writing, 500,000, how many dollar productive hours are those people writing less than 500 or the apprentice mode, the 250? And if it's less than 10 hours, and if it's 5, we follow the formula, what are you doing with the other 50 odd hours that you have in real estate for the week? And let's be truthful, real estate is not a 38-hour week. If anyone tells you it's a 38-hour week, you won't get there until you obviously build an EBU. It's not. It is 40, 50 hours a week. It is. It's just the way it is, if not more at times, especially when you first start. So you've got to be realistic in your expectations of how many hours you work. Right. So when looking at this, I want you to reverse engineer your dollars per hours per week, and then work out if it matches your GCI total. And that will give you a clear indication. Again, you don't need to do this every single week for the rest of your life. I only want you to do it once or twice. I want you to get understanding of the concept, because once you understand the concept, you'll always understand the concept and you'll always know. It's like driving a car. We don't keep relearning how to drive a car. It becomes automatic. And that's why we talk about bulletproof, but you've got to do it in the first instance. And you know, when I did this exercise, I don't continually do it, but I know the formula. And every now and then when we do it with someone else, the formula still works. And of course, designing the ideal week, that's your framework. Organized chaos to me means AM is outbound calls, connections, and so forth. PM means face-to-face appointments. Face-to-face appointments. If you can have 3 face-to-face appointments a day, and whether it's a buyer appointment, whether it's a vendor meeting, whether it's a listing presentation, it will change your career. So fill up the diary with face-to-face appointments. Everything else is going to be process. Okay, so we finished our first topic, and I hope people got value out of that. Apprentice, tradesperson, or practice. Love to see where you feel you fit in the equation. So you can put it into the questions, the question box, and whether you feel that you're an apprentice, a tradesperson, or a practice. Okay, the next one is the opportunity ratio. And mate, it's the beginning and the end. What does it mean? The opportunity ratio. And Joel shared this at his presentation, as I mentioned. And I've stolen his slide. You can't sell what you haven't listed, and you can't list what you haven't appraised. So I'll repeat it. You can't sell what you haven't listed, and you can't list what you haven't appraised. And it's that good old analogy. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? We know in this instance, it's the opportunity to appraise someone's property. It's the opportunity to be invited, to be on the shopping list, to give you the opportunity to pitch for the business. It is the beginning and the end. Those people that master this have phenomenal careers. Those people who struggle with this will always struggle. So understand this concept. So we'll put some stats in place. Now, on average, how many properties sell in Australia every year? Does anyone know the answer? Everyone know the answer? If you do, put it in the, I'm not about to share it anyway. Okay, we have 11.1 million residences in Australia today, residential homes, according to CoreLogic, of which on average, year on year, for the last, say 4, 5, 6 years, there's about 435,000 transactions. Always felt it was a little bit higher, but based on CoreLogic that I plucked out a few days ago, it's 435,000 are sold annually, which means there's a turnover rate of 3.92% and 1 in 25. And if you remember my slide from Black Salt, I said for every 20 to 25 homes you drive past, one of them will be selling this year. You just don't know which one it is. It's really powerful to understand that. 1 in 25 or 20 to 25 in your local marketplace will be selling this year. It's just statistics, okay? So it's the law of averages. We did have a peak though, right? And the record is 598,000. And those of us that were in real estate post the COVID peak saw a marketplace that no one has ever experienced. And I remember people listing property on a Friday, having their first open on a Saturday, then having a meeting on Monday, concerned if it hadn't sold. And I want you to think the implications of that. Listed on Friday, launched with open for inspections on a Saturday, or launched on a Friday, open for inspections on a Saturday, hadn't sold, and there was concern on a Monday, it hadn't sold. So those of us that have been through that period can remember the energy, the excitement that was in the marketplace. And those agents at that time, and I remember saying it was our roaring 20s. And I said to many agents during this period, we knew it was not sustainable. I said, but people are going to build phenomenal businesses during this period. Why? Because we're meeting so many more people than normal. And if you're doing a great job during this period, that momentum point is going to take you through for not only years ahead, for a decade ahead. And we're seeing it already that, those, whilst it's come back to normal volumes, those agents that really took advantage of that post-COVID peak have amplified their business phenomenally. So a big congratulations to those people as well. But on average, 435,000. But what does that mean to you as a real estate agent in a local marketplace? At the end of the day, it's Australia-wide. You're not going to sell every home, and you don't have the opportunity to appraise everyone's home right across Australia. It's only your local marketplace. So the big question is this: how many properties were listed, sold in your core area suburbs in the last 12 months? Now, this should be at the top of everyone's head. If we don't get everyone in the answer box saying, yeah, there was 50 in my core area, there was 100 in my suburb, 150, whatever it is, if you don't know that answer, there's a big challenge. It's a huge challenge, because we need to know our market statistics. It's one of those things when we're building the sales agent business plan, I just take it for granted, right? Maybe I should or maybe I shouldn't. But if you're a real estate agent, the first thing you need to do is market knowledge. How many homes transact? What type of homes transact? What is the median sale price? How much has that median sale price increased over the last year, 24 months, 36 months? How many are currently listed? Days on market, everything pertaining to the marketplace. You need to be the market experts. And this is a big one. And this is in your conversations. Mrs. Vendor, In the local marketplace of Frankston South, we have approximately 7,000 homes. In the last 12 months, 238 have sold. The highest price was $1.8 million. The lowest price was a 2-bedroom unit at $650,000. These figures are made up. I'm not in the field. But that's how knowledgeable you need to be with obviously your marketplace and understand. Okay, so that's one question. How many properties were listed or sold in your core area suburbs in the last 12 months? Here's the next question, the big one. How many did you get to appraise? And this is a really big one, right? Because when you actually do the statistics, there isn't many agents that get to appraise too many homes in their local marketplace. They might have a major share, but rarely have I seen someone appraise 100%. In smaller pockets, I remember when myself and Maria were working a very small pocket, I'm talking only 200 homes, but it was a good turnover, it was over 10% turnover per year. We had an 80-90% opportunity ratio for every property that came in, but we were very strategic in what we did. As I said, Maria and I learnt the rules of the game and we followed a formula, and that enabled us to be selling 120 homes year on year for 3 years in a row. We thought that was normal. We didn't think that was anything extraordinary. This is what you did. We didn't know any better. We weren't surrounded by other higher performing agents. We just didn't know. We just did. We just learned some basic rules and we just went with the process. In every marketplace that we've ever worked in, that we started from scratch, we went from 0 to over 50% market share in less than 12 months. There's a process and everyone can do it. And I'm seeing agents do it already. Joel Hood is a classic example in his area of being able to take market share in less than 2 years. It took him 15 months to go from 0, no presence, cold start, no office, no previous sales experience in the suburb, let alone the state. And obviously achieved $1 million in 15 months, which is extraordinary. So the big question is, how many did you get to appraise? So, simple question. If 100 properties were listed in your service area and you got called into 20 to appraise, you have an opportunity ratio of 20%. Yep, pretty simple. It's 1 in 5. So out of 100 properties, 20 called you in. That's pretty good, actually. In most marketplaces that I've seen, if this is yours, it's actually pretty good, right? A lot of people don't know this number because they're all over the place. Now, whilst I understand that, there is another opportunity ratio, which I'll be talking about when we talk about database management and mastering, is how many opportunities of those people that are already in your database that came onto the market did you have, right? So, and that's another discussion when we talk about database in another session. Okay, so this number, please understand, this number does not reflect that you won every listing. It measures those properties you were given the opportunity to win the business, to be on the shopping list, to actually pitch for them, right? There was a reason for them to call you in, and whether it was a recent sale, whether you had a past relationship with them, whether a past buyer, whether they came to one of your home opens, whether they see you on realestate.com, you're selling lots, and whether your digital profile, whether your social media profile is there, they've called you in for whatever reason, or obviously a referral, which is obviously one of the most common ones. So understanding that is really important. So if this number does not reflect your success rate, we'll talk about that in a moment. But take a deep breath. The next question. Why didn't the other 80 call you in? If you got called into 20, why didn't the other 80 call you in? So I want you to do this exercise, right, to find out why. When we find out why we didn't get called in, you can do something about it. If you bury your head in your sand and we point the finger at the actual sellers, especially those ones that list the property directly opposite one successful sale that you did, and we'll talk about the oxymoron of a for sale board. we're going to lose the opportunity to improve our opportunity ratio. And opportunity ratio is a reflection of how good your marketing is. And that's what I'm excited about in our next session, which is going to be called the art and science of lead generation. And when you understand that concept of the art and science of lead generation, as I've mentioned before, and I get really passionate, we don't have a lead generation challenge, we have a lead follow-up challenge. So anyway, back to this, so I don't digress. For those you, so the question is this exercise, I want you to do this exercise. For those you didn't appraise, ask this question of it. Did you have the property owner's contact details? Were they on your database? Right? That's a really good question. So if you didn't appraise it, right, were they on your property owner's contact details? And I know there's people using platforms such as Reader and so forth that actually tells you, hey, there was a vendor who listed that you actually had their details, but obviously we didn't get the opportunity to either reappraise, if it could have been a past client, and so forth. But did you have the property owner's contact details? So it's a yes or no. The next question is, were those details available via property data sites? This is a big one and very often not talked about. We have access to so much data. We can purchase data from lots of third-party providers. We've got access to ID for Me. We've got access to Call. We've got so much data here that it's absolutely incredible that it will be highly unlikely that if we do a little bit of digging that we can't find the details of the property owners for people who have just listed with the competition, even if they haven't been on our database. So I want you to do this as an exercise. The next time there's a listing in your suburb, in your core area, have a look at it. Property owners' contact details. Did you have them? If it's a no, move on to say, well, what access do I have to some database? Were their details in there? Because it's going to amplify the value of these databases to you. And then, of course, third-party suppliers. This is the big one. This tells you how good you are in your prospecting. When was the last time that property received a marketing touch point from you? Whether it was a direct mail, whether it was a door knock, whether it was a phone call, okay? So it's really important to understand. Then, of course, it's the subliminal, it's the omnipresence, and whether you've had a recent for sale in the local area, or whether you're obviously in the top 3 and high profile that people actually go, obviously we need to bring in the high profile, or was it obviously a referral? And this is it's a big one, because what you find is you can stop feeling guilty if you don't get called into a property, because if you don't have the property owner's contact details, right, and those details weren't available via property data sites, and you never prospected for that property, and you never put in a direct mail, door knock, letter, anything to prompt them to consider you, don't feel guilty. You never did the work. You never got in front of them. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen for everyone. If you did do contact marketing, consistent marketing to every single property in your service area, and you still get a large portion who don't call you, that's not bad. It just means they've obviously got a relationship with another agent, which happens. You just got to get your fair share. And when you get your fair share, you actually get more. It becomes unbalanced. You actually get more and more and more. So understanding that is really, really important. I hope people got value out of this one. And of course, we've made it a little bit easier for everyone. When you download the Alpha and Omega book, right? When you download the Alpha and Omega book, I want you to go to the back page. It's page 80, so forth. And you can actually start recording all your service area listings there. And keep a track of it. I'm sure you must be doing something yourselves. I hope you're not leaving it to memory, and whether you're putting it onto an Excel spreadsheet and you're using it in your listing presentations or not, but I want you to start doing this, and it should be just automatic. And of course, if you've got an assistant that's helping you, they can do that for you, okay? And they can track it so you can obviously keep a track of it. And of course, CoreLogic will have all that, those details as well. But it's always good to write analog. And we'll talk a little bit of analog and digital in a moment when I talk about the Alpha and Omega book. All right. So that was that session, the opportunity ratio. We're up to the Alpha and Omega appraisal to list ratio. We're halfway through the presentation. Guys, thank you so much again for those people who are staying on. I know we've got about an hour to go. So the Alpha and Omega appraisal to list ratio. As I said, even at my presentation of Black Salt, I feel that if you get just this one thing out of all the sales agent business plan and you nail this, it's going to 2x, 3x your business. It's going to bulletproof your business. It's going to accelerate your business, and you're going to dominate the marketplace using this simple strategy. So what is the Alpha and Omega book, and what is it? Well, to me, it's the beginning and the end. It's the appraisal to list ratio represents the average number of face-to-face or virtual appraisals, listing presentations needed to secure a single listing. It's not magic. I call it the magic number, but it's just a fundamental law of averages. Right? So when you see the law of averages work, you can understand the law of averages, you can help those law of averages work in your favor in so many areas of your business. But more importantly, in this particular one, it has changed businesses. It has changed people's appreciation of what they do, and it's made their life so much easier, and it's taken away so much guilt. So I'll talk about the book and how to use it, and it's taking away from digital, but why it's important to use the analog version. But just to give you a snapshot, and I'll give you some examples of some of our team members who are doing who are monitoring their numbers. Okay, we know from within our organization, dealing with over 360, working with over 360 sales agents, and of course, mentoring a whole bunch of agents outside of agents agency. This is a pretty clear number across the board for those people that are in the tradesperson apprentice stage. Tradesperson apprentice stage. And that is 3.7 to 1, right? So they're conducting 3.7 appraisals to 1 and securing 1 listing. The big number, of course, is 23 per month on average. And in the average marketplace with a $15,000 to $20,000 average commission, you're $1 million agent when you do 23 per month, okay? And there is the law of diminishing returns. When you reach 23 or you're trying to do more, it actually, there's a law of diminishing returns, but that's another topic, again, for when we talk about building the A team. So what does it mean? If we go further than that, the appraisal to list ratio is not the number of properties that you have successfully won over the competition. That's called the success rate, okay? Because we know every property appraisal that we go to doesn't necessarily come to market. Some come to market in a year's time, 12 months' time, some never, but it's all part of the mix. And if you recall at the Black Salt conference, and if you don't recall it, all the videos are available from the Black Salt conference. All the recordings are there for you to revisit and to review. The good thing is you can fast forward the bits you want to get to, share it with your team as well, especially those people building an EBU. Share the great content, share the young guns. If you've got a young gun joining your team, jump onto those sessions and just share so you can inspire your young talent that comes into your organization. So the success rate is winning the business against your competition, all right? So as an example, if you had appraised 10 properties that have come to market and 7 have chosen you and 3 the competition, your success rate is 70%, right? 7 out of 10. They're the ones that come onto the market, right? So that tells me your listing presentation is pretty good, all right? Anything under 7 out of 10, I'll tell you right now, you need to work on your listing presentation, because tradespeople and real estate practice agents, they're up at 7 and above, right? And it's really important to be at that ratio. So now, have we seen someone have 100%? I've only heard of one. I've never met them personally. I was working with a coach a number of years ago, and this coach was just focused on listing presentations. And so we went through a whole process. We actually got a real vendor to go through a listing presentation. 3 of our team members went through the listing process. And I remember this particular coach, inner city Melbourne, was working with one particular agent. And this agent was a $2 million plus agent. So we are talking a few years ago, probably 5 years ago. So it was significant volume. And that agent actually did not lose not one listing to the competition in a 12-month period. It was the first time he had actually seen it. It was the first time I actually saw it as well. So it is possible. But again, if you really think about it, 7 out of 10 means 2 out of 3 you win approximately. And 1 you may lose to the competition, and sometimes that 1 might be a business that you don't want anyway, because we know that not all business is good business. Okay, moving forward. So this is an example of some of our team members. I hope they don't mind me sharing their stats, but the stats are the stats, the numbers are the numbers. So you can sort of see. So, David is a $1 million performer with his team. He's done 334 appraisals, 87 listings. He has a ratio of 3.84, very similar to the 3.7. He lost 22. His success rate is 80%. You've got Mahesh, and David's in Marimbula. Mahesh, who's in a high volume area, medium house price of about 750, 800,000, 134 appraisals, 48 listings in the last 12 months. He lost 11 to the competitors, great success rate at 81%, and his ratio is 2.8 to 1. So he's definitely an attraction agent. You can see that straight away. JC, another $1 million agent, 226 appraisals, 47 listings, a ratio of 4.8 to 1. It's a really interesting story with JC. So JC has evolved his business from mentoring a whole bunch of agents in his team to really coming back to a director's EBU. So he's back on the tools heavily, especially the last 12 months. So what has he done? He's increased his outbounds to make sure that he gets in front of more people. So his ratio has gone up to 4.8 to 1, right? Normally he was at the 3 to 1 level, but he wants to get into more colder appraisals to start building more of a pipeline, because he has a vision to get to the $2 million, $3 million GCI and build his director's EBU. So there's no right or wrong. For example, the lowest one there that we see is Jace or Paul Organzia's 2.3 to 1. That doesn't mean that he's right and he's a better agent than what Jared is. It's just what his numbers are and the type of appraisals that he does. We'll talk about the momentum points. So I don't want people to think, oh, I'm doing, for example, Cameron, I'm doing 7.3 appraisals to get 1 listing, right? That's just his number, because the type of prospecting that he's doing, and obviously a younger agent, requires him to do more. But I'd rather be doing more appraisals, especially the soft ones, than doing 15-minute appraisals and putting them on my worksheet and saying, okay, this is my average 5 to 1, because I'm building pipeline for the future, right? So it's really, really, really important. So understanding that. The big one is the losses, okay? You don't want to be under the 70%. And those people that are under 70%, right, need to work on their listing presentation, and or I know not everyone wants to take on every piece of business either, okay? So that's really important to understand. And sometimes it is competition, team. Sometimes people talk about, and if you remember my slide about the apprentice, you're up against some great agents. Don't beat yourself up if you're losing against great agents. And someone else said to me as well, he goes, Manos, you're doing this black salt and you're getting a whole bunch of your competitors in amongst it all. And this is my philosophy, team. I'd much rather be friends with the top 3 in my marketplace than be enemies with my top 3 in the marketplace. The more, the more. There's an agent for every vendor and a vendor for every agent. It's the same way we take the same approach as a network as well. So I have no problems in regards to sharing what we do. I love to see people succeed. Those people that choose to succeed will succeed with our advice or without our advice. We just want to help people get there a little bit faster and to learn from our mistakes. And the other thing, who you work with and how you work is more important, and what you do is more important than how much money you make. And that's a big philosophy that we've always had. For us, I'm in it for the long term. I always ask myself, what does my business need to look like right now for me to be in it for the rest of my life. And I just want to be surrounded by great people, work with great people, whether they're in our organization, whether they're outside the organization. It is all about relationships. And that's our big why. We want to do great work with great people. And that's all there is to it. So again, when you lose to the competition, be humble, ring them up, be their friends. Okay, so the next one, excuse me for 1 second. Okay, where are we up to now? The most important book, the Alpha and Omega book. As I said, I want everyone to download this workbook, right? And I want you to reverse engineer. So it's an exercise you need to do. You need to reverse engineer the your entries. If you could do this over the next next month before we have our the art and science of lead generation, I highly encourage you to do it. And it's simply using an analog. And why do we say analog? Now, I know a lot of people put their appraisals in the CRM and digital and their phones, but there's something about analog. See, when you have a book, it's a physical book, and you carry this with you, and you start filling it out, and there's so much great content in here. Also got the first listing contact document we'll talk about, obviously, when we do listing presentations and winning the business. But when you start filling out this book and you start marking it out as per the example here, you will find that you'll make more meaningful connections. You will find there is less leakage in your business because you'll realize, shit, I talked to John and Mary Smith a few weeks ago. I need to call them up, because especially when you get busy. And I was speaking to someone, again, to a director yesterday who's just recently a $1 million performer. And we went through this process, and she started smiling. She goes, do you know how many times I've lost listings because I just did not follow up? And it's so important to understand. It happens to the best of us. But this system, I'm not saying it's going to eliminate it, but it's going to minimize it. And that's what the whole purpose is. And of course, documenting the lead sources. And it's so simple. This should not take, this is not rocket science. You handwrite it in, put as much information as you want in there. Make sure that you obviously put in the lead sources. The lead sources are going to be invaluable for you to find out where your opportunities are coming from. Okay. So we'll keep going, right? Thank you. Can we thank Olivia, guys? She's been in the background and all that, taking video and so forth for all the blasts out for Black Salt. So no, thank you, Olivia. Okay. So where are we at? So have I pressed that button? Yeah. So please complete this session before our next session, which I believe is on the 4th of July. I've got it at the end of the program. I hope people are getting some value out of it. Okay, your business plan. So we're coming and we should finish on time, right on time, team, maybe a little bit earlier. Your business plan. Okay, let's just really go through this. I want you to do it once. And again, it's like driving a car. Once you learn what to do, you don't have to keep learning it to do it and do it to do it. You just need to review it. So we need to reverse engineer. We need to reverse engineer all our last 12 months activities, so we can work out what our key performance indicators are. And as we can see, it's on page 26 and 27 of your workbook. So 26 and 27 of the strategy and action workbook. So this is what it should look like once you fill it out. It's pretty simple. We're coming to the end of the financial year, so there couldn't be better timing to actually do this. So as an example in this, I have said that someone has written $650,000. They've sold 37 properties. They've had 37 sales, settled transactions. The value of sales is 35.15 million. Average sales price of 950,000. Average sales commission of 17,570. It's 1.85%, excluding GST. We always exclude GST because we don't get to keep the GST. And it's really simple to work all that out. You just go 650,000 divided by 37. That gets you your average commission per sale, right? Why it's important to understand that figure is the next time you go into the lounge room, you want to make sure that it doesn't fall below that. Because if it falls below that, your average in the balance in the following year is going to be lower. So you always keep in mind, understanding that the price of the property does have some bearing on it. But again, if you're always above the 17,570, and if you have to make a little bit of adjustments to win a business with a higher sale price, as long as you're not falling under the 17,570, you're laughing. It's commercial, team. So I don't want people thinking I'm going to hold on to my, my listing, my fee. I'm not saying to discount, protect your fee and so forth, but just have commercial reality. The most important thing is not if it's 1.85 or 1.95 or 1.65, is it above 17,570? Because that's dollars that you can bank. Number of listings, let's just pretend this individual in this example listed 40 properties, of which 3 withdrawn, and that's why he's only got 37 sales, he or she. Number of appraisals, 167 for the whole year. Number of listings lost to the competitors, 12. Really easy to monitor, and encourage everyone, reverse engineer. It's your activity to do, right? So the key performance indicators are this. If the appraisal to list ratio, which is the most important one, 40 listings, 167 appraisals, you just divide 167 by 40 and you get a ratio of 4.2 to 1. So for every 4.2 appraisals this individual did, they won a listing. They secured a listing. So for example, 14 per month, and that's really reasonable. That's lots of agents are doing that, doing 650,000. It's probably on par for many of you that are watching right now. The listing success ratio. This is this is your success in the lounge room, right? So this tells you whether you're a great presenter or you're not a great presenter, if you're a great follower, if you've nailed a 10 out of 10 listing presentation. Remember, the best of the best are at 70%. So if the best of the best are at 70%, or just 70 to 80%, feel comfortable. If that's what your level is, you're doing great. Okay. Sometimes we need to celebrate that. Yeah, we're up there with the best of the best. So if 40 came to market, i.e. 40 listings went to you and 12 went to the competition because we lost 12, that means a total of 52 came to market. Yeah. Out of the 167 appraisals, 52 came to market. The other balance, the other 115 haven't come to market yet. They may later, doesn't matter. We can add that to the total at a later stage as they progress. We're just talking about a 12-month snapshot. So you listed 40 of them. 40 out of the 52, 40 divided by 52, you got a 77% ratio. In other words, for every 10 vendors that you've walked into, you've approximately listed 8 of them. 2 of them have gone to the competition for whatever reason. And of course, then we go to the sales success ratio, and that's withdrawals, because we need to consider properties that don't end up selling. Why did they withdraw? There's lots of reasons people withdraw their property. And, we've all got those challenges, and some people just change their mind or aren't willing to accept the price. But we can use those, obviously, in our listing presentation, but that's for another session. Right, sales success ratio. If you listed 40, but 3 of them withdrawn, so if you look at this chart, number of withdrawn listings in the last 12 months is 3. You've only sold 37 of them. Not only, you sold 37. Well, 37 divided by 40, you have a success ratio of 92.5%. That's good. If you're over 90%, that tells me you've got great vendor management. If you're under 90% or 80%, it depends on your marketplace too, and it obviously varies from cycles in the property market. But that's a really good success ratio. I've yet to see too many have 100%. Lots in the 95, 98%, but there's always one person who just changes their mind. And it's not bad, it's just the way it is, okay? So when we use how can we use these ratios to build our business and to 2x, 3x our business? Because that's what it's all about now, isn't it, right? What is it that's the most important? And it is the number of appraisals, right? So if we look at this chart here, this number here, right? This number here, 4.2 to 1, is the most important out of all of it. You need to understand the others, because The last thing I want to see agents do is drop their average sales commission from 17,500 down to 15, because you've got to do more sales to do the same volume. And there's some agents that we've mentored, and I remember one director, our director at Madawi in New South Wales, he goes, "Man, I just don't want to do as much as I did last year. I love the money I made, but I just don't want to do as much." And I said to him, increase your average commission, increase your percentage. You'll get to work with the people who want to work with you, and you'll do the same volume. And this director did 10 to 15% less sales by slightly increasing his average commission and working with obviously better clients, but he did the same volume. So less number of sales transactions, but he did the same volume of GCI, and he took an extra day off a week. So he was only working 3.5 days a week instead of working 4 days a week and 5 days a week. So it's quite interesting, his marketplace. But anyway, that's another story. So the appraisal to list ratio is the most important. So what does it look like? So if this particular agent, and if you can relate to this, if you're at 650, and let's just pretend you want to have a conservative goal and go for 800,000 for the 24-25 financial year, what does that look like in numbers? Really simple. 800,000 in GCI, which is 66.7 thousand a month. There's a target to have on your whiteboard, 66.7 thousand. Number of sales required is 46. Average number of sales per month, 3.83. I mean, you can round it up to 4. Number of listings based on your losses, 49, because you're going to have 7% lose if you've got a 93% success rate. 3 will withdraw, I should say. So you need to list about 4.1 properties. Again, you can round it up to 4 and have an extra one particular month. But the most important thing is the number of appraisals. So if you need to do 49 listings, you times that by 4.2, and that's how they get your 206 appraisals. That's it. And then they need to be doing 17.2 appraisals based on their last 12 months of activity. And if nothing changes from the activity that you're doing from a prospecting point of view, 17.2 is the magic number. And without fail, this individual will, so long as their average commission remains the same, is $800,000 in GCI. Now, what does that look like if you want to stretch it to $1 million or 2x it? I didn't do a 2x. I could go here all day. But let's just pretend this agent goes from 650. I'm going to increase my business by 50% and hit $1 million, right? Well, that's 83.3 thousand GCI. In numbers, it means 57 sales, 4.75 per month, 62 listings, 5.15 listings per month. And of course, 260 appraisals, 4.2 times 62, and 21.7 appraisals per month. And that's what it works out. And once you reverse engineer your own, I guarantee you your numbers will come up. Now, here's the exciting thing. If you think back and you go do your market share and your market capacity, and you find out there's 500 sales in your particular area. In your particular area, 500 sales. I want you to think about this. And your goal, I'll go to the 800 just for the sake of the ease of the numbers. And your goal is to do 50 of those, right? So the 49, let's just round it up to 50, well, probably need to go say they're 50 sales. No one gets withdrawn. Okay, so if you think about it, if there's 500 sales in your area and you need to do 50 of them, that's 10%. 10% of the marketplace. Now, if you know your opportunity ratio is 1 in 5, that you get into 1 in 5 of the properties, for you to get your 50, you need to get into 200 opportunities. Does that make sense? So when you start understanding how many opportunities you need to get into your 50, you need to get into 200 opportunities, because 50 times 4.2, 200 opportunities of those 500. So that's where the magic happens. And of course, when you start thinking about your database and getting into opportunities from your database, it just amplifies everything. So understanding this number is absolutely crucial. And the whole thing is understanding your appraisal to list ratio. So your whole sales business should focus on one number, and that is the appraisal to list, and everything else is process and service delivery. Okay, moving forward, half hour to go, so we're going to finish well on time. I'm hoping that got value for everyone. And of course, please, 10-minute phone call if you're challenged with the numbers and working it all out. Once you do your reverse engineer of your workbook, I guarantee you, you'll have those numbers clear in your head, and you'll have a great framework and a great base, great foundation to work on your 24-25 financial year. Okay, the momentum point. So those of us that were fortunate enough to get to ARIC this year, a great session by Gavin Rubenstein, and I know he's a different agent in a different marketplace, so we can't, all congratulations to him and so forth, but he made a very important point in his presentation. And we've always heard about momentum point, attraction agent, be the go-to agent and so forth, but this was really important, his quote. Move from prospecting to becoming prospected. Move from prospecting to becoming prospected. So what does it mean? So let's look at it from the momentum point. You see, when we first start in real estate, it's a test of stamina and resilience, because we're doing all this prospecting. This axis represents the volume of prospecting that we do. And it's a shitload, right? Especially when you first start. And it ain't glamorous. There's letterbox drops, there's cold calling, there's door knocking, there's begging our friends for within reason. There's networking, there's so much to be done, right? When you first start to get your name out there, but you need to understand what is it all about. It's about people understanding that you're a real estate agent in the marketplace. And until you start getting some results as well, it's going to be hard. Once you get some results, and even one sale can catapult your business, just like Charlotte Broad. If you remember Charlotte Broad, who spoke at the panel, playing big in a small town. What an extraordinary story. It was one sale that she was able to leverage, that obviously built her career. And it happens to so many people. Even Josh Tesselin, who sells 350 homes a year, said it started with one sale and he just amplified it. But anyway, so going back to the test of the stamina and the test of stamina and resilience. So we're doing all this prospecting, but our results, which is represented by this line, and this is the access for sales, are very low. We're not getting the return on investment. But all this work here is helping us to get to here as time goes past. Year 1, year 2, year 3. And a magic thing happens at a certain point in time. And it's quite interesting when it happens to agents. It goes, oh my God, I'm getting inbounds. Oh my God, I'm getting referrals. Oh my God, it's getting easier. Oh my God, I'm getting repeat clients now. I mean, we have one young lady in our organisation, been with us for 15 years. 80% of her business now, and she's a $500,000 performer, half of her business is coming from repeat clients. She passed that momentum point many, many years ago, and that's what she does now. And she openly says, I just work my past clients, because she's earned the right to work with her past clients. And I'm often told by real estate agents, I just don't get it. There's so many agents in our office, especially those that work in big offices, and they say, that agent over there doesn't even prospect. They don't do anything, and they get all these inbounds. And I have to remind them how long they've been in it. They've been in it for the grind. Even Gavin he goes, people see my success over here. They just didn't realize it all started over here, and all the hard work and all these little 1%ers, all these, and his comment was 30 connects a day, compounded over 20 years has gotten to this point. And every single agent that has reached that momentum point, that attraction agent point, that person of moving from being prospecting to being prospected, has done all the work. So all that work that you do here in this area here is amplified and pays dividends here. And remember this saying, you should write this down. Your results today are in direct reflection of the activity you did and didn't do a week ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So don't be harsh on yourself when you're not seeing results today. You need to give it time to breathe. And that's why it's important that every sale that you do, you give wow moments in the service delivery to make sure that you're building your momentum and, obviously moving towards becoming an attraction agent and one that people obviously refer. Okay, so moving forward, and we're coming to, we're going to finish up right on time a little bit earlier, is, are you making it easy for sellers to find you? So when we talk about the momentum point, it is about making sure, right, the reward for patience, persistence, and creating raving fans, but are you making it easy for sellers to find you? And I normally put up a slide and it's got a secret agent, but I think I'll put it up for, are you a secret agent or are you a real estate agent? I'll put it up on the lead generation panel next month. But I want you to take a photo of this, right? I want you to take a photo of this. Are you making it easy for sellers to find you? And we call it omnipresence. And omnipresence is making sure that your digital footprint matches your analog footprint, which matches everything that you do. So when you ask the question of yourself, and it's a question you should do this exercise, especially before, we're coming to the end of the presentation, I'll just talk about some homework that everyone needs to do before the art and science of lead generation, is I want you to research, do a Google search of yourself, do research on yourself on realestate.com. I mean, that should be a must, right? And obviously all the other websites, your office website, do you have branded cars? What's your for sale boards like? What's your billboards like? If you have them, if you've got billboards there that are costing thousands and thousands of dollars a month, maybe not consider that. But if you can get a billboard for a couple of grand for a whole year, mate, it's really worthwhile. Start thinking about how can sellers make it easy for sellers to find you. And there is the law of people will go to the point of least resistance, and hence why I always talk about being first, about sometimes it's just being there at the right time at the right place and you win business, because people just go to the point of least resistance. They can't be, for lack of a better expression, don't have the time to be interviewing 10 agents. If they like you in the first instance, people are time poor. Be aware of that. They will be using you. Anyway, so this is really important. And there's so many channels that we can be having a presence. And I remember some time ago when Joel Hood and Jared Carmer were absolutely smashing it in Mornington, and they were just dominating the whole area. And I was in Frankston South, so it was about 17 kilometres apart. So it was a fair distance between suburbs, and not really two suburbs that were like. But anyway, I went to a charcoal chicken shop getting our weekly takeaway, and I had, back then we were just branded EV Real Estate, so it was some time ago, EV Real Estate. And I had my t-shirt on, and a customer comes up to me, local patron, and said, "Oh, you're with EV Real Estate?" I said, "Yeah, I'm part of the Frankston office." Yeah, okay. Hey, isn't Joel Hood and Jared Carmen doing amazing things in Mornington? I said, "Oh, do you know them personally?" She goes, "No, I've never met either of them, but we just see them everywhere. If I'm ever going to sell, I'll be using Joel or Jared because we see them everywhere." So it is incredible. And I know the investment that both Jared and Joel made in their businesses to be self-branded, their name up in lights, to make sure that they get obviously that omnipresence. And of course, their success as well, because you can't just be omnipresent, you need to be delivering it with service. So it's funny how good news travels slowly, but bad news travels fastly. So we need to do lots and lots of good things for that to travel and for people to obviously refer us in business and so forth. So, okay. We've come to the conclusion. A couple of things that we need to do before we finish off. And just as a reminder, Thursday, July the 4th, and I have to make an apology. I've have to shifted the time. I haven't told you this, George. Right, sorry. I have to shift the time to the afternoon team to 3 till 5 because we're going to be overseas at the time. and getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning may not be as productive as I'd like. We'll have some special guests on as well. So I have shifted it to 3 to 5, but of course we'll send out those in the reminders and have it in the membership hub. Our next session is the art and science of lead generation. Okay, and it's again one of my favorites. We'll have a couple of special guests pop in and just to share their story as well. I want you to think about this. We'll be talking this extensively about the oxymoron of sold signs, the 60-40 rule, and the importance. So if you haven't got this, it's in your book anyway, but I want you to take a snapshot of this to see how many of the elements of around a for sale board are you using right now. It's really important. Are you doing everything every time you list a property around that? Because if you're not, you are definitely missing out on opportunities and using the amplifying effect. And the reason I say that is we'll be talking in depth about the piggyback theory, leverage, and amplification. So be aware of that. So yeah, we'll be talking about, you know, making sure that you piggyback every activity after another activity, and especially once a property is sold, and the best examples that we can share with you and the results that obviously translate. So really excited about that session. One other exercise for you to do, team, is the Drops Diary. The value is in its simplicity. Now, what does that mean? A Drops Diary is simply a diary, right? Just a simple diary. This one costs $12 from Kmart or Target. So, and it's just a single day to a page. And what I want you to do is start collecting, especially between now and the art and science of lead generation. It's only 4 weeks, 5 weeks actually to go before that. So every time you get any drop from one of your competitors in your marketplace, and I'm hoping if you're not living in your marketplace, you need to get someone who does live in your marketplace service area to start collecting this. It's a very analog process, but please don't devalue it because of its simplicity. The impact that this will have on your business will change it, right? Absolutely change it. And for those of us that were at ARIC, Chris Gilmore is doing $6 million at the moment, and I can almost guarantee you he attributes his success to his direct mail strategy, right? It doesn't sound sexy, it doesn't, but at the end of the day, it's what produces results. Just remember, 1 in 25 homes you drive past by are coming to market in the next 12 months. How are you communicating with them? So I want you to start filling in your diary every time someone, your competitors drop something. Have a second diary and start collating your direct mail, right, and your prospecting activities. It's so important because it's going to give you clarity of what you are and what you're not doing, but more importantly, what's working and what's not. Okay. I hope if anyone's got any questions, again, please reach out. Everyone can find my my mobile number and get in contact. More than happy to take calls to help people out, especially after these training sessions, because there's a lot of information that we need to go through. Okay. Next, and of course, next we will be building your prospecting schedule from July, August, September, October, November, right through the whole year, and hopefully it's a set and forget. You build it once, you learn how to drive it, you handball and outsource as much of the activities as possible, so you get that mainstream marketing working for you, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel every second week. And what am I going to do this week? And what am I doing next week? We're going to help you budget it, and we're going to help you identify what you need to be doing, right? And what works the best. You look at all the menus, you put it all together, and you tailor it to yourself. You're going to build your own hamburger, as per my slide at Black Salt. All right. Last, we're finishing right on time, team. Right. I want you to remember this statement. Right. It's something I spoke about many years ago, and I always use it. Your greatest competitive advantage is that your competition is lazy, so long as the competition can't say the same thing about you. It's not a dig. It's not a dig. I don't want you to look at it as a dig, but it is. Your greatest competitive advantage is that your competition is lazy, so long as the competition can't say the same thing about you. But I want you to use your competition, especially those competitions that are doing well, to drive you even further and to get better and to get better and to get better. And you will get your share of your success. You will achieve your targets. Do not look at competition as a threat. Do not look at competition. You actually shouldn't even look at competition at all, right? Just stay in your lane, do the work, and just know that if you do the work, you will get the results, okay? And as we said at Black Salt 2024, and I'm really hoping people put in, set that strategy session, the strategy session with your team to implement, because nothing will happen if you don't implement, okay? Nothing at all. So on that note, team, can we just say a big thank you to obviously our industry partners on this. We can't do this without them. If you're a director or an agency or EBU that looking at obviously any of these services, can I encourage you to reach out to any of our industry partners? They will help your business, okay? And you need to see them as partnerships. And they all do amazing work. Of course, some of them are just in Melbourne, e.g. Anna Yanis from her styling business. The rest are actually probably all over Australia, which they are. Or Gasleck obviously is in Melbourne as well, helping all our landlords and our property management departments. But yeah, so team, those people, thank you so much for joining this very first session. I really, really appreciate it. And of course, I hope you got some value out of it. So drop us a line if you did. Let us know if we can improve. And of course, really looking forward to seeing you at the Art and Science of Lead Generation. Okay, and that's a wrap, I would call. I think it is. So thank you so much, team. Be good. Okay, I'll leave it over to George to switch it off, and way to go. So a big shout out to George. I know you can't see him, but he's been sitting next to me this whole time. I'm not sure if you can see him. See right there, obviously doing all his magic to making sure that it's smooth. And I hope the transmission was good and it was all good. Okay, thank you, team. Be good. Okay. And